Well, good morning everyone and welcome to 2025. This is my first walk of the year. Happy New Year to one and all. I don't know about you, but over Christmas you get a bit cooped up, a bit of cabin fever, having to stay indoors all the time. So I just couldn't wait to get out, especially given that I have 10 grandchildren and 6 of them were with me over Christmas. It was a nice time, but it gets a bit much when you get to my age, so I'm just so pleased to just be out and about, back in the Lake District, back in Grasmere, and I'm going to go up Helm Crag today, so stick around, because the weather is glorious. It's very, very cold, -5. Hope the wind doesn't kick off because that will bring it down to sort of below -10. But right now I'm staying warm enough and I've got smiles all over my face because the scenery is just spectacular. The snow is iridescent in this morning sunshine and I'm looking forward to getting to the top of Helm Crag. Today's route takes us to Easdale Tarn as well, but I'm not sure I'm going to have the stamina to do that. I might get pretty chilly. But anyway, let's take a look at the route for today. The Lake District National Park lies in the northwest of England in the county of Cumbria, and our walk today starts in the small village of Grasmere in the centre of the park. From the A591 main road, we head briefly south towards the village itself. At the River Brothay road bridge, we take the path west to Easdale Road. We then head northwest for a mile or so. The road eventually finishes and we pick up the path and the signs to Helm Crag. There is now a steep ascent to the summit, which passes initially through woodland, but then the path opens out onto open fellland. At the summit we gain spectacular views, pretty much in all directions, but especially so south to Grasmere and north to Dunmail Raise and the A Road, which runs to Keswick in the north of the park. The summit also has 2 very prominent rocky outcrops, the north of which is colloquially referred to as the Lion and the Lamb. Our descent is made to the northwest, descending initially down into Brackenhawes and then heading south down a very steep path into Easdale Valley. We then pick up the path that lies to the north of Easdale Beck and head in a southeasterly direction back to Easdale Road and then on to Grasmere. The walk covers around 5 miles and will take around 3 hours to complete. Helm Crag's summit is 1,330 feet above sea level. So this is why I have smiles on my face, a big ear-to-ear grin. That's Helm Crag over there, and it's not very high, but it's kind of a microcosm of a bigger mountain because it is quite steep and rocky in places, as we shall see as the day unfolds. Now coming around here, there is probably the most delightful place to live in all of Lakeland. I think that's a farm, but it's a lovely old farmhouse. I think the farm is behind. And then the backdrop, all covered in snow, is Easdale. And on the top of there is this splendid tarn. And the trees are there waiting, hanging in the air, waiting for spring to arrive. Right, let's crack on. And I hope I can just take time out to take my gloves off temporarily to take some more photographs, so that, or some more video, so that you can enjoy some of what I'm experienced today. See you later. Glorious. And you can hear a few birds now, even though it's only January. They're getting ready for spring. You can hear the roar of the water, the outflow from Eastdale Tarn in the distance there. So the views are opening up now as I gain height. You're beginning to see around towards Eastdale Tarn and Helm Crag, which is off to the right. I don't think that's in view at the moment. Well, we've got this lovely waterfall down here. I haven't got the name in my head, but I'll throw up a subtitle when I put the video together. Wainwright mentions this particular waterfall. It's quite famous. And this particular route, not the route to the top of Helm Crag, but the route along the valley floor there to Eastdale Tarn, was probably one of the very first routes to become popular with tourists back in the days of railway connections between the Lake District and the rest of the country. Because you've got to realise that the road system here is still quite poor, but even in Wainwright's time in the 50s and 60s, it was really quite dreadful. And in fact, Wainwright complained mightily about the bypasses that were put in, particularly the one that bypasses Grasmere, going up to Dunmill Raise and Thirlmere. He wasn't a supporter, and the A66 too, that comes off from Penrith to Keswick, that's another route that Wainwright complained about. So even as recently as 50 or 60 years ago, the Lake District wasn't well connected by road and people came here by rail. And in the Victorian period, from the 1840s onwards, probably made famous by, or as a result of Wordsworth living in Grasmere in the early 1800s, people started to come here. And whilst they might not have been up for hikes to the top of the fells, they were certainly keen to go and climb up valleys and visit tarns and the like, and so Eastdale Tarn became very popular amongst those types of tourists. Getting a bit snowy now, but thankfully the wind has not really picked up, so pleased about that. Couldn't resist taking a shot of that crow just nestled on the rock. I'm at the summit of Helm Crag now, and the wind has picked up a little bit, so it's really difficult to do anything with your gloves off. But I'll just show you in a sec what I can see. It's just beautiful. The sun is pouring down on a snow-covered mountain vista everywhere you look. Okay, so that's the very top, and you can see a couple of people just wanting to pat the top so they can say they've been there. And this rocky outcrop here gives this mountain an alternative name of the lion and the lamb. Wainwright talks about this colloquial name for Helm Crag. And it has to do with the fact that from certain angles, this rock here at the top of the mountain looks like a lion taking care of a lamb that is also nestled on the rock. It's a bit like the Lion King, isn't it? It's like straight out of a Disney movie. So I'll get the drone up and see if we can do a circuit and see at what angle you start to see the silhouette of a lion and a lamb. I don't know how much success I'll have with this. The wind, as you can probably hear, has kicked up a bit, and the drone won't like that. And I'll try and get some aerial shots of this fabulous mountaintop. If we walk over here and just peer across into Easdale, there we are, and you can see a very definite snow line. It's fantastic that in the winter the average freezing altitude defines a line on the mountains, which tends to drop down a little if we get a very severe prolonged spell of cold weather, and then it moves up again when the weather warms up. But at this time of year, most of the fells at the very, very tops are covered in snow. So in front of me now you can see not the first ridge of mountains, but in the far distance you can see the Coniston range, and then moving around and again looking into the far distance you can see some cloud just kissing the top of the Langdales, and the one on the left that you can see there is Pavey Arc. Moving around to here we've got various fells, the most prominent of which I think is Gibson Knot, and then over here just where you can see that little V-shaped groove, on the right of that is Fairfield, and on the left is Seat Sandal, I think it is. And then over there we have Stone Arthur. I'm panning around now towards Grasmere. You can see Grasmere is by and large frozen. You can see with the ice on the top there. And just coming into view in the far distance there is Windermere. So a lovely vantage point here. And Easdale Tarn is over there. You can just about see it frozen over. And I mentioned earlier this is a place frequented in the summer by tourists. It's a nice easy walk to get there, although it looks very forbidding now. My walk includes going to Eastdale Tarn today, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it. It's pretty chilly, and I think I will probably want to get back to the van, but we'll see. Well, I'm gonna see if I can pick up an alternative route off this mountain. It's so cold, I think I'm going to have trouble speaking to the camera soon. My face is getting face freeze and brain freeze. Gosh, it's slippery through here. But the spikes are doing their job really well. Now, we all know as fell walkers that this kind of thing must go on in the background all the time, but it's the first time I've ever come across a full-scale repair of a path that's in progress. Just look at this. You begin to appreciate the amount of work involved in maintaining these paths for people like us to walk the fells. Here we have dozens and dozens of plastic bags with stones in, each of which would have been airlifted here by a helicopter, and I suspect only one bag per trip for a helicopter, so thousands and thousands of pounds of helicopter freight costs, as well as the stone themselves and payment for the labour involved in repairing this path, which is in clear need of repair, has no surface on it at all. But for those of us who come here often and use these fells, it's lovely to know that they are being maintained. And maybe we, each of us, should make a contribution financially to that and not moan quite so much about the horrendous parking charges that are levied by the National Parks Authority and others, the National Trust as well, because in the background they do some very good work. Well, I'm on my way now back to the car, back off the mountain, but I thought I'd just stop here to talk a little about some of the things that can bite you in winter, even on a sunny day like this, when the sunshine is out and it looks absolutely blissful. Every now and again you can be caught out by something that speaks of winter very aggressively. Let me just show you. Ice on the path, sometimes so thick and so widespread that there is no way around it, and if you don't have spikes or crampons on your shoes, you are going to find it very difficult to get across. But today I did remember to bring my crampons, first time this year. Well, spikes actually, and they're very cheap. They kind of wear out very quickly because they lead a very difficult life, so you can only really get a season out of a set, but they're only £20 or £30 on Amazon, and they're indispensable. So let me just show you the magical effect of wearing spikes whilst walking on ice. So perfect grip just through a simple set of spikes on your shoes, turning ice into something that has more grip than the rock on occasions. Brilliant little addition to the stuff you take on a winter walk. Now Helm Crag is also, as I've said, known for the lion and the lamb on its summit, and it's often referred to as the lion and the lamb fell. And it's probably the most noted by people who frequent the lakes, because even if you're not coming up here for a walk, if you travel through Grasmere on your way to Keswick on the main road, and indeed on all the old roads that used to run north to south through the lakes, Grasmere is actually on a very famous historical route linking the north to the south of Lakeland. This mountain has always been prominent. It catches your line of sight, and is commented upon. And in fact, before I climbed it many years ago, I commented on it to the other occupants in the car I was in. You know, what's that crag called? That looks interesting. We must go up that one day. So it's noted and picked out on the landscape by everybody, but only a few of us ever go up it, which is a bit of a pity because it is a glorious climb. Well, I'm almost back at the car. I've decided to not bother with Tarn Crag and Eastdale Tarn. It's just a little bit too tiring today in this very cold weather. Although you might be thinking, well, what's he talking about? It's very sunny. Yes, it's sunny, but bitterly cold and quite windy now. So one last look at this glorious valley, Eastdale, before returning to the van and travelling back home and sit it out for another opportunity to go walking in the fells of Great Britain, something I greatly enjoy, and I hope you enjoy too in watching these videos, and that you feel inspired, if you're not already doing it, to go out onto the fells and take a look. So until next time, bye for now.